Howdy folks, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I am your host, the Mighty Bjorn, and today for you I have a Marvel's Avengers video. This is an idea I've been kicking around in my head, and I'm going to call this the Villain Showcase. We are lacking villains in Marvel's Avengers, especially the supervillain variety. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put a video together of a supervillain I think could be added into the game, why I think they could be added into the game, how I think they would work mechanically, or suggestions on how they would work mechanically in the game. Things of that nature. I'm going to throw out a little bit of history of the character as well, so that way I can set some premise for the villain itself. And things of that nature, so just bear with me. This is the first time I'm doing this. Very first episode of the Villain Showcase. But today's featured villain is going to be Whiplash. So let's start off with some history to give you some premise, and then I will dive in deeper on how I think the character would, or the villain would mechanically work in game, how they could introduce him, and even some storyboarding on why they would introduce him in the game. This is more or less suggestion lines. Who knows? Maybe someone at Crystal Dynamics will see this and go, you know what? He's actually got some good ideas. We could make that work, and maybe actually do it. Who knows? Here's for hoping, right? Anyway, so Whiplash. Let's start with his history. Anton Vanko was a scientist from a small Russian village. One day, his village was attacked by someone wearing a stolen suit of Iron Man armor. Antoine used a specialized rifle to stop the attacker and hit the imposter. The chest plate from the imposter came off as the imposter fled. However, the imposter killed many of the townspeople, including Anton's father. Anton would commit himself to getting revenge on Iron Man and would recover the chest plate. For the next 6 months, Antoine would reverse engineer himself a suit of Iron Man armor from that chest plate. Alright, so let's dive in some statistics here. His real name is Anton Vanko. His relatives is Igor Vanko. He is based in New York, formerly Vostok, Russia. And his first appearance would be in Iron Man vs. Whiplash, #1, January 2010. This suit has electric charged whips, which allows him to deflect attacks such as bullets and repulsor rays. The suit also has built-in infrared vision in the helmet itself. And with the whips, he can actually spin them, or so it said, he can spin them fast enough for limited flight. Yeah, that's kind of cheesy in itself. But hey, it's comic books, folks. It's comic books. Work with me here. This is what Marvel says. But anyway, so there is one weakness to his suit, and that is the fact that if the chest plate is actually hit hard enough, the suit will temporarily shut down. So let me dive in here on how I think this character, or why I think this character would work. And obviously, we're going to state the fact of the obvious right here. I am playing Iron Man. Iron Man is part of the Avengers. Antoine Vanko wants revenge against Iron Man. So there you go. Maybe AIM essentially contracts Antoine as a mercenary, offers him maybe upgrades for the suit of armor he had crafted. So what I would do is when designing the character, I would generally leave the helmet and the chest plate alone, but I would do some upgrading to the armor, maybe actually give him a full suit of armor instead of just that piecemeal suit that he wears, including, instead of actually using the whips for flight, actually adding thrusters to the suit of armor. And essentially that's the way I would add it, and that's the storyboarding I would put behind it. Of course, there would be more advanced story, as Iron Man himself would have interactions, maybe special interactions with Whiplash, as they are essentially rivals. Now, when it comes to the whips, I would give him, generally, I would focus on giving him medium to longer range attacks, kind of like Miss Marvel, where she can kind of stretch out and actually hit opponents like 20, 30 feet away. just by reaching out for them. Essentially, I would do the same thing with the whips. The whips themselves are actually powerful enough that they can actually slice through the Iron Man armor. You actually do see that in the MCU film Iron Man 2, although they didn't do a very good depiction following the comic book per se of how Whiplash, his origin. However, the sense of how Whiplash works, it was actually done pretty well actually in the movie, especially when it comes to how his attacks work. So I would even include some entanglement type of attacks that would actually hold the characters and do damage to the characters over a period of time. That being said, I would also try to incorporate the weakness. Maybe something that you could activate, maybe a laser cannon or something, or I'm not really too sure off the top of my head what to think of here, but essentially something you can activate that would do a pile of, maybe not necessarily a pile of damage, but a decent amount of damage to Whiplash, but would actually temporarily shut him down, maybe for like 5 seconds or something like that. It would just completely shut him down, and the Avengers would have a chance to essentially whoop up on him without being attacked back. Attack speed wise, I would actually make his attacks fairly quick, hard to dodge. Basically make him a quicker opponent and more maneuverable opponent, say more towards Taskmaster than Abomination. I really think that's actually really about it, more or less, for the suggestions here for Whiplash. So anyway, folks, hopefully you enjoyed the video. Like the video if you did. If you have any suggestions, there was also a comment section down below. I would definitely be interested in hearing other people's suggestions for maybe how to do these videos in the future, more information they would necessarily like to know about the said characters that I'm presenting here, things of that nature. But anyway, folks, once again, thank you very much for watching the video. Hopefully you enjoyed it, and hopefully you have yourself a great day.